What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I just finished watching episode 2 of Secret Invasion. You guys can catch my reaction under my YouTube memberships. If you are not a member over there, I suggest you become one today because I've got special perks for members only. I've got 2 levels of memberships over there. Level 1 is for $2.99 and you get priority replies from me, special polls, live streams, and level 2 is for $4.99 and you get everything that level 1 has. Plus you get all of my reactions to all of the shows that I watch, any movies I watch, and all of my uncut Try Not to Laughs. So make sure you go over there and check that out and become a member today. Much appreciated. Now, with this episode, it starts off with Nick Fury back in 97, I believe it was, 95 and 97. And I'm trying to remember everything as I'm going through it. So, excuse me. It's late, you guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I guess he's there, and at this point the Skrulls pretty much trust him. Like, he is, you know, trying to take everyone in and protect them and everything. So one of the Skrulls, who seems to be pretty close to Fury, brings in a boy who has lost his parents in the last attack on the Skrulls. And so so there was an attack on the Skrulls. So initially, he met up with them at one point, and they were getting along. And I guess when the attack happened, the guy who he was friends with, the Skrull he was friends with, almost grabbed his hands, almost to say, as he was dying, almost to say, protect them or something, right? So anyway, moving along to 97, when you saw Nick Fury trying to say hello to this boy who they brought in, and he's very quiet. You know, the Skrull that brought him in was telling Nick Fury, like, look, he just lost his parents. He's very quiet, but he's super smart. He was able to pilot a whole organization all by himself. Like, I think that's what she said. She's like, he's very, very smart. We don't find out until later that's actually Gravik. His name is Gravik. And so I didn't put 2 and 2 together until a little bit afterwards. I was just like, oh my gosh. So she was like, you know, just talk to him. He'll come around. So Nick was talking to him. He was like, you know, you don't have to be scared here, basically. And the boy was like, I'm not scared. You know, he's like, I know you're not. So he begins to tell everyone he wants to, and the boy had escaped after his parents got killed. So Nick wanted humans and Skrulls to work together to protect each other, right? So he made a promise to the Skrulls. He said, I want to build, you know, if you guys can, you know, basically turn into humans and protect our planet, protect Earth, and protect my people, we will build you a new home. We'll find you a new home, right? And he was like, he promised them. He was like, you do your part and I'll keep my promise. So then, of course, it fast forward to the attack, right? The attack in Moscow. So they took them all, they went in and grabbed them up, and I thought that Nick Fury was done and over with, but he wasn't. His boy, Talos, I think that's his name, Talos, went and grabbed them all. And, you know, at this point, he's like really distraught because, I mean, his friend, Agent, just got killed, right? So so you see at one point, they're on the train. So initially Talos looks like a woman because the people on the train are looking for Nick Fury. So he kind of transformed into like this this woman, this, you know, beautiful woman, and she's kind of like seductively telling them, like, trying to talk to them to gear their attention away. And they're like, have you seen this guy? And, you know, basically they were like, we're looking for this person who was Nick Fury, and she was just like, finding him is like me looking for aliens. Um, so then he went back and we found out it was Talos. So now they're sitting on the train talking back and forth. And Nick Fury is sitting there reminiscing about how him and his mother used to take these train rides, these long train rides, and, you know, just talking about the past and how they had to bring food and everything. And so anyway, he began to tell him a story about how him and his mom used to make up games. And he says that the games, one of the games that they used to play was Tell Me Something I Don't Know, right? And I kind of knew at that point he was going to start asking Talo questions. So he was like, tell me something I don't know about uh um about Scarlos, right? And so he begins to tell him, it's not much to say. He's like, you don't understand the question. Tell me something I don't know. And he was like, they all fled. And he was like, okay, tell me something I don't know about the squirrels that fled. And he was basically like, they're all here. Thousands of them. And Nick Fury, like, he is so upset. He was like, why would you do that? You know that they can't exist in this world. And, you know, they're supposed to be friends. You know what I mean? They've been friends for a very long time. And so, you know, they get into this big heated argument because he was like, you know, you lied to me. You didn't tell me that this was going to happen, that this is what you did. And he's basically telling Nick, like, look, I believe that we can coexist in the same world. And he was just like, no, like, we can't, basically. So he told him to leave. He told him to get off the next stop. He did. So anyway, Gravik, this is when I started to realize, like, oh shoot, Gravik is the kid that they brought in the beginning, way back when. So Gravik, they're all sitting here, all the prime minister, the president, like all these big government people are talking about the you know, the bombing and everything like that. You got the guy who's the head of NATO, you got the president, you got the prime minister, all these people, right? So then Gravik goes with G'iah to this meeting that the council is having, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, who the heck invited him to this meeting? Like, what is the connection here, right? So then he shows up and he sits there. They obviously know who he is. But then it starts dawning on me that they are all squirrels. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? So then they're all sitting there talking to him, basically telling him, like, look, you caused thousands of killings, including, you know, children. Like, what are you doing? Now we got to clean up this mess, blah, blah, blah. And that's when he, you know, that's when I really understood why he was going after Fury. Because I was just like, I don't understand why he wants to go after him so bad. And so he explained to them, like, look, Nick Fury made a promise and he didn't fulfill that promise. He promised up a new home and he didn't do that. I promised you that I was going to make Earth our home. I'm going to take it. So this dude is going to stop at nothing to make Earth their home, right? So then, you know, you've got the head of NATO, the president, the prime minister. You've got this other lady who seems to be, I think she might be Indian, I'm not sure. But so she seems to be like, you're out of control type of thing. So the prime minister who's sitting next to him, he kind of looks over at her and he nods his head. So she goes and tries to basically let them know, like, I'm, you know, proposing that we make Gravik the general of the squirrels. And they are like, are you insane? Like, are you kidding me? And he basically threatened them, like, whoever's not for it, you're basically stout, you know? And so they all, each one of them stood up, even though they didn't agree with it. They stood up because they didn't want anything to happen to them. So as they stood up, they started to, change into their true Skrull form. And the one who was sitting next to the president, she was just like, nah, like, I'm not gonna sit here and be okay with this. I'm not okay. I'm not going to agree to this at all. And Gravik looked at her like, I could really use somebody like you, but you're free to leave. You'll go unharmed. I didn't think that he was going to let her walk out the front door, but he did. She left, but she notified Talon, and he was like, set up a meeting for me to talk to him. So she's supposedly setting up a meeting for him to sit with Gravik, I guess, to talk about G'iah. Right? The lady goes, nothing happens to her. Okay. So then they swarm him in, right? So now we see there, you've got Colonel, who's in, the Colonel, he is in, oh my God, I keep forgetting. I don't know, y'all, I'm so tired. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. So anyway, they're sitting in court, and he's, I guess, there on behalf of his government people and Nick Fury, and they're all basically telling him, like, what was Nick doing there? Like, what was going on? And he's not telling them anything. He's like, all you're gonna get from us is sympathy. And there was one chick who kept looking at him crazy, and he was just like, yo, she keep looking at me like that one more time, I'm a carpet bomber. I was like, oh my God. So that ended. They didn't get what they wanted. He didn't talk or whatever. So when they left, Nick Fury called them. So they sat down to have a meeting. And long story short with this situation here, he's basically fed up with Nick. He is just like, look, I can't do this with you anymore. Like, you cost us a lot. I don't know how you're gonna fix this. So Nick is basically like, look, we gotta have each other's back. We owe each other. People like us don't get the opportunities that we get just because they know who our fathers are and things like that. So they're going back and forth, and he's trying to plead with him, and the Colonel is just like, he's just not trying to hear it. He was just like, it's just not going to happen. So then Nick sat there and asked them, how well do you know your security? And he was just like, wait, what do you mean? And basically he was hinting at the fact that they might not be who he thinks they are. But the Colonel already knew that they were Hydra. He knew for years. And so he was just like, are you serious? Like, how'd you know? So they're going back and forth about that. So then he comes back up. One of the security guard comes back up, and he was just like, the car's outside. And Nick turned to him, and he was just like, the Colonel will let you know when he's ready to leave. And he was just like, nah, it's not for me, it's for you. So he told him straight up, he was just like, it's going to drive you to the airport. You're fired. He fired him. He was just like, who sent you to fire me? He was like, I didn't get sent. I volunteered. I was like, oh, so he fired him, right? Now, before that, Gravik, G'iah, and this other guy went to go to this, I guess it's a butcher shop. The lady, I don't know what her name is. I don't know. I'm not quite sure who she is, but she's the one with the bun in her hair. So she walks into the butcher shop, and the guy standing there is like kind of looking at her like, who are you? She's like, I'm above your pay grade. Where is he? I was like, oh, okay. So she goes to the back. She basically tells the guys that are holding this other Skrull hostage, basically she's taken over because they can't get anything out of him, right? So she takes over. Now she needs to get some information out of this guy to find out where Gravik is and what he has planned. So initially the guy is acting like he doesn't know what she's talking about. She's like, what is going on? So she cuts his finger off, And that's how she finds out he's a Skrull. She was like, okay, that's easy. Next thing. Now. And she shoots him up with some type of something. It looks like, it looks like super soldier serum. I don't know if that's what that is or not, but it's blue. So anyway, but it like, it literally like set his insides on fire. So she's like, where is his compound? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, what do you know? What secrets doesn't he keep? So the guy basically told her, like, he's building a machine. And she's like, for what? And he was like, to make us stronger. So initially, she had asked the guy that was initially interrogating him where the escape is, because she knew that he was going to come looking for her, for him. So after she got all the answers, you know, that she wanted, she escaped. Gravik came to pick him up. Now, while he was doing that, G'iah is in the car with the other guy, the newest guy that showed up to the compound. She, I think, is the one who told the police where his compound was. I don't think it was the guy who was initially sitting there getting, you know, terrorized. But Gravik, before he left up out of there with that guy, he was just like, what did you tell her? He was like, nothing, all lies, right? He didn't tell her where the compound was. Not that I can remember. He didn't tell her. I think G'iah did. But they were all in the car. They kept driving past the compound. And they ended up in the woods. And the guy in the back looked at Gravik. Gravik looked at him. And he knew what he had to do. And he shot the dude. And I was like, yo. And she can't say anything because then they'll kill her. So she's got to stay in his pocket to do everything that she's got to do, right? So anyway, after all of this, after Nick Fury gets fired, now at this point, like, his whole world is just crumbling around him, right? So he leaves. He gets into a car that was in some type of storage. He's driving, and then he shows up at this house. Now at this house, we see the same lady that we saw in the beginning of the episode that brought in Gravik. So when he walks in and comes around the corner and sees her, like, she's like, are you forgetting something? And he turns around and he picks up his ring and puts it on. And then they kiss, and I'm like, what? When did he have a life down here? When did he have a woman? When was he married? Like, what? He lives in a what? Like, he has a regular life, kinda. I don't know. Like, this was weird. So I guess we're gonna kind of see more. We're gonna find out what happens with that meeting with Tallow. I'm hoping that we find out some more about Nick's regular life, because I'm assuming we didn't know that he had a regular life. And what's going to happen now that Gravik's trying to take over? And now that he is sworn in as a new general, that can't be good. So we'll have to see what happens in the next episode. But anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know if you enjoyed my review, what you guys thought of the second episode of Secret Invasion. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Toodles!